The bat signal has been lit. Go through the grandfather clock, secret entrance, and head back to the Batcave. It's time to revisit the Batman animated series with your hosts, Adam and Nick. In this episode, Chris fills in for Nick.
Welcome to another episode of Back to the Batcave. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me is my co-host, Chris. Chris, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's always fun to talk Batman and with you and anytime, really. But definitely, it's better talking with somebody about Batman than me talking to the wall or myself about Batman. Which I have no problems doing, because talking about Batman is fine anytime. But it's always more fun with somebody else. So welcome. I don't know, is this your have we done Back to the Batcave together, or is this your first Back to the Batcave?
I don't think we have done one of these before.
All right, so then this is your first time on this podcast on the network. So
glad to be here. It's always good hanging with you.
And also, I mean, how can I not have you on a Batman related episode? That would be a crime against podcasting, right? So we had to be done. So for our regular listeners of this particular show, they'll know that back last year, Donnie and I covered both Batman '89 when we had the Michael Keaton's Movement double on. It goes by Ballet Bat on Twitter. I'm sure you've seen him and you know, probably heard an interview or two with him recently. So we had him on for Batman '89, and then we did, as a Christmas episode, we did Batman Returns, which of course had to be done on Christmas because that's a rule. And so you know, we've got to continue the journey through the Batman film franchise, and that means that you and I will be covering Batman Forever, the first Joel Schumacher entry into the franchise, which saw Val Kilmer assume the role of Bruce Wayne Batman and introduced Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson Robin, and then featured Nicole Kidman, Jim Carrey as the Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent Two-Face. We'll get to this, you know, our review of the movie in the second portion of the show after the break. But first, as we always do, two things. We're going to talk news. It's more rumor right now. And then we're going to sort of do a little bit of a preamble about our thoughts. We're going to try and remember back to 1995 and what it was like leading up to Batman Forever. And then in the second half of the show, we'll go into the actual film itself. But the rumor around the interwebs as of late is regarding Robin in the Batman film franchise, specifically in the Matt Reeves iteration of the Batman film franchise. And the Robin in question that is supposedly, according to sources and scoopers, it will be Dick Grayson in the Batman Part 2. I believe this particular rumor is coming from My Time to Shine, which I believe I think she's about 50-50 with her in terms of a track record. If I had to give it a number,
I'd say one of the better scoopers.
Sure. But we've got to keep in mind that we don't know how far along the Batman Part 2 script is. They can't really talk to actors right now, so any talk of potential casting would have had to happen before the strikes. But let's pretend, let's play devil's advocate for a second and just take this rumor as it is. What do you think of the idea of Dick Grayson, thereby Robin, entering the Batman saga, if you will?
Just in general, like my general thoughts on it are, I'm okay with it. I think that Dick Grayson is a character most people love. They want to see him on screen, and you know, it's an interesting thing because you watch the Batman and you don't automatically think, "Oh yeah, he could handle a Robin," but at the end of the movie, he's left in a place where I could believe he would have a Robin, as long as it's not a child, which I don't think they'll do. Even if it's just not to contradict Brave and the Bold. So I'm okay with it. I think it could be really fun, or maybe fun's not the word considering it's the Reeves one. But
Yeah, I don't know how fun it's going to be, but
right, I'm sure it's going to be a traumatic experience for the Robin.
For sure.
Yeah.
Entertaining is probably the more appropriate word, but yeah.
I would go with that, entertaining. I'm cool with it. I think, and I'm not even the biggest Robin fan, to be honest. I don't care for Robin, unless it's Damian, but he's important, and people want to see him. So if he's in it, cool.
Yeah, for me, look, Robin is an important part of the Batman mythos. I am not of the inclination that Batman has to be by himself at all times.
Right.
That's just not me. I like him interacting with, other members of the Bat family and, other superheroes. I'm fine with that. I welcome it. So if Dick Grayson / Robin shows up in the Reeves verse, I'm on board. Watching the Batman, do I think the traditional iteration of Robin would fit? It doesn't look like it for the 3/4 of that movie. But you're right. At the end, Batman is left in a more hopeful, positive place.
I was going to say positive.
I don't know how hopeful you can be when your city's still underwater, unless you're Aquaman, and then it should be underwater.
Kind of celebrate.
It's Atlantis. So the door is open. Like you, I don't think it's going to be a 8 to 10 year old because I just don't see it. With the grounded realism of it all. Now, do I think Brave and the Bold Damian could be 10 to 12 year old? Yes.
I hope
that I will definitely expect. But not in the Reeves verse.
Though, thinking about it, now that you said it, if they did go younger for Robin, like let's say they get a 13 to 15 year old or something, I think I'd be okay with that too. Just because the journey that Pattinson's Bruce has been on, I think it would be kind of cool to see him, try to help a 13-year-old kid not do what he did, which is, become
immerse himself so far into the into the darkness.
The persona.
Yeah.
Might be cool.
Yeah, it could be for sure. And I'm more like we had talked sort of off air about the other day about how we thought it could work, and I think both of us kind of talked about the idea that there's that scene when he stops the mugging and he lets one of the guys go. That could be the type of Dick Grayson we could get here. That could be an avenue to go. Now, it'd be funny if they brought back Jay Lecurgo, who was the person in that role, because he's already played a Robin. He played Tim Drake in Titans. So that would be kind of interesting, but also weird.
Confusing.
I mean, look, I don't know how confusing it would be, considering realistically how many people in the general audience population watched the Titans show.
That is fair.
So
especially to that season.
Yeah, our ilk will know of it because we we sat through it. We're fans of it,
Mhm.
so we're more inclined to know about this stuff. But I don't know that the general audience is going to know. Hey, wait a minute, that guy already played Robin on
That's
Titans.
Tim
What's going
Drake.
on here? Yeah. So I don't know if that would be a factor, but I just think he's probably going to be. The reason why I say that, if he's in there in the first place, which I'm still not 100% convinced of, because at this stage, how the hell are we supposed to know everything's on strike? Who knows what's going on? The only person that knows about the script is Matt Reeves and Madsen Tomlin. So only they know. But the reason why I'm more inclined to think that Dick Grayson will be older in the Matt Reeves Batfirst, if he's in there, would be because they want to differentiate from the Brave and the Bold.
Mhm.
So, and do I think they can pull off having two versions of Robin? Because again, depending on how it would play out in the Reeves verse, but the two iterations of Robin simultaneously. Yeah, I don't see what the problem. Again, it's all about how you would differentiate them.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, because the audience has shown that just make it good and continuity, spontaneity. Like look at look at Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was not received well by the majority. And then he comes along and plays Deadpool again in whenever the first Deadpool movie came out, 2016, I think.
Something like that.
And nobody was like, wait a minute, we're not going to see this because Wolverine Origins stunk, or I'm confused about, is this the same Deadpool? What's going on? Like, so to me, the main job of the filmmakers is make the best possible film you can, and if the marketing material is good, people will be open to it.
And also, I think it's worth mentioning that people associate Batman with Robin.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a new concept, like Robin was just created. Batman and Robin is generally how people know, like they come as a pair.
Yeah.
I think even people out of our bubble, I don't know if you agree with that, but people out of our bubble know Robin is a thing, and Robin is a big thing.
I do believe that the general audience has a notion that Batman and Robin come as a package deal. Mm-hmm. Here's a recent example of the general audience awareness. I was watching, for years the family sort of tradition is at dinner time we watch game shows. Okay. Because that's what's on the TV. So the other night, I think it was 2-3 nights ago, I don't know if you've heard of the show Mastermind.
No. Okay,
so it's basically a game show where they get average Joes on one side, really smart people on the other side, and they answer questions. Anyway, so one of the questions was, which in DC Comics lore, what is the superhero identity of these characters? And the choices were, or the names were, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, and Damian Wayne. And the Joe Blow section of the game show answered Robin. So did the supposed smart people. But so the point is, the general audience clearly knows what Robin is and where he belongs. So it's not going to be some foreign concept.
No, I think what would be the foreign concept, and this I totally understand. I would imagine they don't know that there's different Robins.
Yeah,
which,
that's going to
that's going to come down to the execution to show them this is Dick Grayson, this is Damian.
The interesting thing for me is, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a thing, is Dick Grayson, I'm willing to bet 99% he's going to show up in Brave and the Bold as Nightwing.
Oh, yeah. All the monopoly money in the world on that one.
Yeah, so that's the question of, that's where if Dick Grayson is in the Batman Part 2, yeah, if he's in the Batman Part 2, that's where the sell is really going to have to be, because that, like, people can say all they want, but the same people that are watching the Batman Part 2 are going to watch The Brave and the Bold.
Oh, yes.
So, but the general audience, that's where they're going to be like, wait a minute. Dick Grayson was over here, and now he's over here, and he's calling himself Nightwing. Why? So that's where I think the most selling is going to have to be done. That's where the confusion, I think, will be at its highest.
I think I'm with you on that, because that is going to be kind of jarring. Like, hey, we got like a teenager here in this movie, but here he's a full-fledged adult with a different name. What's going on?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll call him Richard in The Brave and the Bold.
Because simply, the main differentiation between the Robins will be, well, one is somebody that Bruce Wayne takes in, Dick Grayson. The other one is his actual legitimate born son. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that.
I almost wonder if it would be easier and maybe fit Reeves' world more to do Jason Todd, which I know will be sacrilege to a lot of fans. But
yeah, because then you could kill him and have him a villain in the third one, or whatever.
Oh, I didn't even mean kill him. I just mean because that origin might.
I went straight to get the crowbar.
You just want to kill the kid.
Where's the Joker? No, but that would fit Reeves. Don't you think that would fit Reeves?
Oh, it would. I mean, I would even prefer that. Really, kill the kid, bring the Joker. I'm in.
Like what's his name there? Barry Keoghan is waiting there with that deformed face. Like put a crowbar in his hand and let's go. Like,
oh yeah, make him full on horror movie villain. I'm with you.
Like, have him be Rob. I would play it if you're doing Jason Todd. I would have him, be Robin for 3/4 of the movie, right? And then at the tail end is when the Joker does the job, right? And then in the third one, I don't know if you're going to use the Lazarus Pit in the Reeves verse, but maybe he was not fully dead, or whatever.
They could do it.
And he comes back as Red Hood, and he's a villain for the third one.
Yeah, you have that showdown from like Under the Red Hood. That'd be okay.
Yeah. So I that would fit Reeves' vision a lot easier than, hey, let's go to the circus. And,
look at this circus kid. He's happy with his family. No, they're dead now. I think that might be an interesting way to do it. But again, I understand fans will be upset. I get it.
Here's what I'll say to the fans. Folks, we're not getting I don't think we're getting all 5 Robins.
No, I don't think so.
Even in Brave and the Bold. Like, I think we're getting 2 Robins in the course of the Brave and the Bold. Dick Grayson being a past Robin, and now Damian. I don't think we're going to see Tim. Maybe Jason, depending if he's not used in the Reeves verse, but Jason, because of the Red Hood aspect of it all, could be used. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be. We're not going to see Stephanie Brown. We're not going to see we're not going to see both Barbara and Cassandra Cain. Like this. Yes, James Gunn will go comic book, but he won't. Like, I mean, you're trying to fit 30 to 40 years of continuity into a 10-year plan. Sacrifices are going to have to be made.
Right. And also, you compare a comic book where they're the same age forever to a live action feature where an actor is going to age. Yeah, and they can only do so much with that time.
Absolutely. So, but I think in terms of this rumor, I think we're both on in the camp of, if it's true, we're on board. We're open to it. Yeah. And let's see how it plays out.
Let's wait and see.
There are certainly interesting possibilities. But we know, hashtag killer. We do know that Robin was in Batman Forever. That's a fact that nobody could dispute. So before we go to break and sort of get into the deep dive on the film, let's talk about our feelings and anticipation back in 1995 going into the movie. Take it away. Where were you at that point in time?
Well, I was 9, and I remember pretty well, actually, because I loved 89 Returns, and then we also had the animated series at that time, too. I mean, it was well into the run.
Yeah.
So I was all about anything Batman. I still am, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Anything Batman was cool to me. This particular movie, though, was special because I was old enough to understand the movies coming out and that there's behind-the-scenes stuff. So, like, I remember Entertainment Tonight specifically. They played this, I think it was a 30-second clip of the movie. And I waited all day for that episode to air. And I watched that 30 seconds, and I was like, this is amazing. It was the entrance at the Edward Nygma party.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember. Yeah,
They showed the behind-the-scenes of that when they were filming. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I also remember Entertainment Weekly had an issue dedicated to it, and that was like the first full looks at the characters. And I actually took that magazine everywhere with me for that time. Just whenever I was bored, oh, look, there's Batman, and oh, that's a cool Robin suit. So I was so excited for this movie. I had a bunch of the toys, specifically the Wayne Manor, which I kept for years, and the Batmobile. I love that toy also. It was just a big deal for me. Actually, that was also the first CD I bought. I was so excited, I bought the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
I had my own money at the time. I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
Just because it had the logo and everything.
Yeah. I remember I was, wait a second, let's see. I was 12 at that time. And I was, like you, anything Batman, it's like, okay, give it to me, like, you know, whatever it is, right? And I must have saw the same clip as you on Entertainment Tonight. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Like, look at that. That's a badass, right? And, you know, the beauty of it back then was they told me that, or they had said that, I mean, they didn't, you know, what's her name? Mary Hart, whatever the hell the host was.
Oh, I don't remember.
She didn't come and tell me directly that Val Kilmer, like, she didn't whisper it into my ear. But it said it on the program that Val Kilmer was taking over as Batman. And it was like, it just was like, all right. Like, yeah, it wasn't, like, 12-year-old me didn't care. It was like, okay, another actor's playing Batman. Cool. Like, whatever. Like, it wasn't like nowadays where it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Another actor's playing Batman. Nobody's in panic mode back then. It's just like, oh, all right, another guy playing Batman. Sure, right? So I had no problem with it. He looked cool in the shots of the suit that we could see. And I think I had seen on some program, or maybe it was the trailer, the opening scene where he walks up, you know, in the Batcave, and he walks up to the car.
Oh yeah, the drive-through thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, like, cool. Like, it looks. I'm like, the Batmobile looks different, but it's still really cool. Like, I love the look of the cave from the shot that we saw, and I believe in the first trailer they still used the Elfman score.
I don't remember.
In the trailer, I'm pretty sure they did. But I was like, all right, you know, cool. I'm on board. And then you the Riddler and Two-Face. Like, I was all into it. I was, you know, I bought a couple T-shirts. One of them was the movie logo with in the question mark.
I love that logo.
I had that shirt. Yeah, and I remember having the McDonald's glasses. You know.
Those are great.
And for years, I had them, or I had, which one did I have? I could never get Batman, which pissed me off because I kept going for Batman and I never got Batman.
The mugs?
They
were always out of Batman.
Yeah, but I remember I had Robin and the Riddler. And I had them for years, the longest times. And then one of my nephews came around, was born, and eventually broke it. And I'm still debating on disowning him, but that's a story for another day. But
I wouldn't blame you.
But because if I go on eBay and look those glasses up, I bet you they cost a limb.
They do.
But I was all up in it, and I bought the soundtrack, much like you, and I listened to that thing ad nauseum. And to quote the kids of today, that soundtrack still slaps, ladies and gentlemen, because I have it digitally. I have it digitally now, and I still listen to it on occasion. So
that U2 song is still amazing.
Yeah, and the Seal one too. I did that one. Yeah. So I was all ready for it. I was, because of the animated series, I was hyped to see Robin. So I was all ready for it, and the hype, I think, in terms of the general audience or general population, I think was there too. It was pretty big. I don't know that it was on the level of 89 or what came after with The Dark Knight, but really it was pretty strong that summer. Like, Batman was everywhere again.
I remember we went to a 2 p.m. showing and it was sold out.
Yeah.
It was huge, and also the actors helped. I don't know about you, but I was already really into movies at that time, so I was familiar with a lot of actors. Jim Carrey, I loved Jim Carrey at the time.
Jim Carrey's name, yeah.
Yeah, that was a selling point. I also really liked Tommy Lee Jones because I'd seen The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And some other stuff where I was like, I know that guy.
Like, Val Kilmer was kind of like, who?
Yeah, him I didn't really know. And Chris O'Donnell, I had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea who he was. Like, who? Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I think I knew who Nicole Kidman was.
And my thought process on Nicole Kidman, yeah, she's hot, she'll do it. No, I mean, back then I was 12, folks.
Right.
Don't cancel me. I was 12, but that was, and still 1995 era Nicole Kidman still on the list. She's on the
That's a special era for her.
Hall of Fame list, if you ask me. And now she's Aquaman's mom, which explains, in the multiverse, why Aquaman grabs Batman and chokes him against the wall in Justice League.
There you go. It's a circle of life.
That's why it's the multiverse. Deep down, he knows that there was some kind of shenanigans between Batman and his mom, and that's what happens. But multiverse shenanigans aside, so yeah, I was all excited, and I couldn't wait to see it, and then I saw it, and with that segues into our review, which will come right after the break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back, and as promised, we're going to share our thoughts and review of the actual movie, Batman Forever. So, Chris, give us a brief, spoilers for, what are we now? Almost 30...
Is it? Yeah, I think it's almost 30 years.
28 years?
Anniversary's coming up.
28 years. It'll be 29 in next year. But spoilers. But give us a brief description of what's going on in this 29-year-old movie.
Yeah. So the movie is about Two-Face escapes Arkham and wants to wreak havoc, and we also have Edward Nygma in the film, who gets turned down by Bruce Wayne for a project, drives him mad. The two psychopaths team up in an attempt to take down Batman, who also encounters Robin throughout the film.
Right. Yeah. So what needs to be said about this film is that, to me, and I think most people will agree, this is a sequel to the previous two Tim Burton movies.
Absolutely it is.
Like, I've seen people try and find, well, it's not really, no, folks. Alfred's the same. Commissioner Gordon's as useless as ever. The same guy.
Poor Pat Engel.
Yeah, I felt that. I mean, he's good, fine actor, just terribly used. But they're the same. There's even a mention, a nod to Catwoman
and the Joker.
Yeah, how you can ignore or people can sidestep? No, it's a sequel, and so there's that aspect of it, and what I like about it is that now we're encountering a Batman that is 6 years or so, based on the continuity of the previous two movies, around 6 to 8 years, let's say, into his, because he talks about the first time he encountered Two-Face. So let's, which was 2 years earlier. So let's assume that it's been 6 to 8 years into his career. So this is the first time we're really getting a Batman in his prime, if you will, kind of thing, like at his peak.
An established Batman.
Yeah, on film to a degree, because I guess Michael Keaton's Batman was an entity, but it was more of a like urban legend. Like there were sightings of him, but it seemed still early on in the proceedings.
Well, yeah, because it returns people bought that he killed the Ice Princess.
Yeah,
because they didn't know him well enough to say otherwise.
Yeah, so this is the most established Batman we've seen so far, and I gotta say, the first suit up was cool and all, but to me, the first heroic entrance when he arrives at the scene of the crime, that's gonna be, and everybody knows, I love the the '89 rooftop scene. It's top tier, but I also love that entrance where the bat signal's behind him and he's swinging in,
and the car is there too.
Yeah, and he's swinging into the foreground and just arrives next to Commissioner Gordon and Dr. Chase Meridian. That's one of the best Batman entrances, first appearances on film, I think. And like just the fact that he's like standing there and sort of having this, I don't know if psychological is the right word, but they're like having a debate about what's clinically wrong with Two-Face.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a scene from a comic book or like something a conversation you'd see them have in the animated series. And I love that.
I think that the dialogue, it's funny because the dialogue is comic booky. Yeah. But it's not like over the top. Well, some stuff is over the top, but that not with this. Yeah. It's not over the top, and it feels like it's a good way for people who don't know who Two-Face is to be explained. This is who he is.
Exposition, yeah.
Yes, it's a good use of exposition.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's cool because obviously Chase is somewhat flirting with Batman right off out of the gate, but he does that disappearing thing where we see him leave, like we see him walk away. He's like, all right, I gotta go take care of stuff now. See you later.
I've had enough of this crap.
And I'm talking, I'm going. But even the rescue, like it was so big and grand, and like from the elevator moment where he takes down Two-Face's goons, which had a lot of callbacks to '89. There was that one guy at the end of the whole fight where he's chasing them down with the two small swords, and he's got the same pose that it was the same shot.
And I like the difference in the way the fight ends because in '89 he lets him go down with the bell. Yeah. In this one he saves him from going down the elevator shaft. Yeah. So there was that one too, the elevator shaft moment, and even like the quote unquote wonderful toys. Like he's got that, like the batarang with the rope that ties the guy. Yeah, and that's pretty. So he's evolved his tech.
Like one is like a shock, electroshock kind of thing that shocks the guy. That's kind of cool too. Like so the technology has been evolving, which you'd want to see happen with Batman as we go along. And then after Two-Face had sort of trapped the security guard in the bank vault, even the bank vault rescue where he uses the guy's hearing aid.
That's my hearing aid.
Yeah, I mean that guy's dialogue was over the top, but the fact that Batman was using it to help him, like, figure out the combination.
Yeah, pick the lock essentially.
Yeah. So it's like a glimpse of like Detective Batman. Like he'd know how to do that stuff. So like we're getting more on the job Detective Batman stuff, which again, most of the detective stuff that we've seen up until this point was just him in front of the Bat computer,
looking very serious,
reading stuff, right? So I like that in field, in fight application of it. Thought it was really cool. And then so he rescues the vault and make sure the security guard's safe. And then you see him swinging, from the helicopter. Like that whole fight with Two-Face looked like a splash page of a comic book. And that's
the best way.
That's what I love about it. It's like I just turned the page and there's a big splash page. And it was great.
It's not embarrassed to be a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Joel Schumacher just let it fly in this one. He more so in Batman Ron, but here he just, there was a lot in here that's comic booky.
Yeah, what I think he did, and I think he said this many times, you could see it. He wanted to put a comic book. He literally wanted a comic book to come to life, and that's what he did here. Like you see it with these kind of shots, right? And I think the most over the top stuff. It's kind of a tie between Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. But Jim Carrey kind of warranted it because he's basing the Riddler off of the Frank Gorshin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of acceptable with the Riddler.
It is, and it's Jim Carrey, so you don't hire Jim Carrey to be a muted Riddler. Tommy Lee Jones is different. Yeah, it's more egregious, I think, with Tommy Lee Jones, because he's doing what if Two-Face, at least in my estimation. I mean, there's some good in there. The way he always relies on the coin. There are moments where you see a stronger performance there. But by and large, I think what happened was his assignment was make Two-Face as much like the Joker as we possibly can. Right. And I think if you would have had a calmer Harvey Dent with the wild Riddler, that probably would have worked better.
Right.
But as it is, I really do enjoy Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face, even though it hasn't aged as well for me.
Yeah.
Because, in 1995, I hadn't read any Two-Face. The only Two-Face I knew was the animated series one, which I also love.
Yeah, that's the same with me.
Two-Face is one of my favorite villains. He's no pun intended, but he's my number 2.
Yeah.
So I love Two-Face and I like his performance, but I watch it and I think, man, Aaron Eckhart was better, and Long Halloween is better, but that doesn't mean this isn't good.
No, he's still
he's entertaining.
Again, they got the core elements of the character are there.
Yeah,
they're just over exaggerated to the.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's moments when he is calmer, like, not to jump at, but the ending, when that's a great bit with him.
Where Bruce is like, don't you have to use your coin, Harvey? And he's like, oh, you're right, Bruce. And you can
tell
always
a good friend.
It's Harvey talking to him.
Right.
I'm not maniacal
More Harvey, I think, would have been better.
Even at the very beginning with the security guard was very well
Yes,
done.
I love that scene.
If he had maintained that tone throughout the course of the entire movie, I think it would have been great. It would have aged even better.
I randomly quote that a lot too.
Yeah.
For just no reason. It's just fun to say.
Yeah, for sure. So that opening bit, and then the helicopter crashes through Lady Gotham, because it's the Statue of Liberty, folks, but really it's supposed to be.
I remember watching that as a kid, thinking, "Hey, isn't that from New York? What is this?"
Yeah. But what's funny is, and it's little things that kind of jump out at you. That was the first time we'd seen Batman underwater in live action.
Was it? Oh yeah, if we don't count 66, yeah.
Yeah, 66 is what is
That's a whole other beast, but yeah, you're right.
But in terms of the modern Warner Brothers live action movies, it's the first time, and that was cool. Something in and of itself was some cool imagery there.
Seeing him swim and stuff with the cape, that was cool.
Yeah, so and I like the flashback that they showed on the TV to the scarring of Two-Face.
Yeah, I love that.
Very comic accurate.
Mm-hmm. And they also named Maroni, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean by comic accurate. We get a lot of Bruce Wayne in terms of. This is more of the Wayne Enterprises Bruce Wayne that we see, which we didn't see much of in '89. Well, we didn't see any of it in '89, and we saw about a minute and a half of it in Returns, in his conversation with Shrek, right? But that's the extent of Wayne Enterprises Bruce Wayne that we saw here. Like, we actually see him at the location, sort of doing a check-in to see, to make sure everything's running smoothly. And so we get that businessman Bruce Wayne, which I think Kilmer pulls off very well.
Agreed.
He does something very, very clever. So that there's the whole point where he's meeting the staff. He meets Edward, and then out of the corner of his eye, he sees the bat signal. And right then, he does something where you could tell Bruce's focus is shifted, and he immediately wants to go into Batman mode. And just the way he's kind of haphazardly trying to purposely brush off Edward. It's like that little switch that Kilmer does shows you when Batman kicks in, right? And I like that. That sort of feigned, like, yeah, I'm still present, I'm still listening to whatever, but you can tell he wanted to get out of there. I like that.
Kilmer did really well to duality of the role, which I don't think Keaton did for me. I know some people see it. I personally don't. To me, Kilmer was the first out of those three movies to really show that there is a duality at play.
Yeah, there's certainly far more. Yeah, there's more. There's definitely.
There's more depth to Kilmer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely agree there for sure. But then again, this script gave him that material, whereas
it did.
Neither 89 nor Returns sort of required that from Keaton, really.
No, not too much.
So I'm sure he could do it if asked, but
oh yeah,
I just don't think he was asked. While it was cool, I don't know how it makes sense, but like, how close is Wayne Manor to Wayne Enterprises that in his office he has a chair that can lead to an underground tunnel system that will take him directly from Wayne Enterprises to the Batcave?
I don't know how he even pulled it off. I mean, we're not going to argue logistics about it because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But like, if you were to think about it, how did Bruce Wayne build this underground tunnel?
Like, did
And
he even
also,
offer to do it all himself? Because
right, was he
imagine
just
you have to get
tunneling?
contractors in there and be like, all right, this is what I want, and they're like, yeah, but why? Where's it leading to? Oh, I can't tell you that. Never mind. Just
Right,
do it.
was he doing like a Shawshank Redemption thing on his own? And then there's the point where you could see the mileage on his pod is going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, was
Like,
he in a Formula One car? Like,
right, how does he even survive that in this pod?
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was cool.
Oh, it's very cool. I like it. It just odd.
But yeah, it was weird. But damn, I want. All I know is like, I want one of those. Like, that's what I want in an office.
I want an underground pod.
Yeah, just to take me wherever the hell. Yeah.
I like when it got to the Batcave and the doors open. There's all these sparks and stuff.
Yeah, and he just walks out like nothing.
Like, yeah, he didn't just take a 200-mile-an-hour ride. He's good.
I'm good, Ray. Where's the suit?
Does it all the time.
And I love the shots of the Batmobile, like when it would come out of the Batcave.
Like the Riddler says, now that's impressive.
Like that was like it was a homage to '66, clearly, but obviously the tunnel was much larger than what they had in '66. It was but I like that homage, right? And then we have the scene where the bat signal going off was nothing more than Dr. Chase Meridian summoning Batman there to the roof of presumably the GCPD, I think.
I think so, yeah.
In nothing but negligee. And I'm like, hold on a second. Again, I'm not going to debate and demand specifics, but you telling me she late at night walked into the PCPD in a negligee up to the roof and nobody said nothing. All the cops were just like, oh yeah, that's totally normal. Go ahead.
This is fine.
I mean, look, I'm sure they were distracted, so they didn't care. But because I would have been too. But why is she going to the roof?
You know, it's funny for me because I think there's a lot of duality in this movie. Like, Chase Meridian is two different characters. When she's around Batman,
yeah,
I really don't like her.
Yeah, she just wants to. Yes.
She just looks.
Get on with it. Yeah.
Right. She's just a very flirty lady.
Take off the costume and let's go. Right.
Right, and that's fine. But then when she's with Bruce, she's more of a character.
Yeah.
And I like when she's with Bruce. The Batman side of it, I don't like at all. And that's really, when we talk about this film aging, that's something that's aged terribly. Because I think, in other watches of it, I always say, okay, whatever, it's Chase Meridian, it's fine. But, watching it more as an adult now, it's like two different characters.
Right. And the other thing that ages the film is when he says, the bat signal is not a beeper.
That's still funny to me.
Oh, it is funny.
Because we know what a beeper is, though.
Yeah, I like the line. It's funny, but if I show that to, my 15-year-old nephew, he's gonna be like, "What's a beeper?"
It's a bad signal.
And I'm like, it's essentially the equivalent of a text message today. It's like so, but yeah, I do like the line. Where I think this gets really interesting to what you're talking about with Chase is, for all the overtly, the live action comic book brought to life aspect of it, it still goes to some dark places, and that's with Bruce's memories, repressed memories of his parents' murder, and the funeral and all that, and he's really struggling with it. I like that. This is why I think one of the many reasons, but why Batman Forever is a vastly superior movie to its follow-up, because they're actually trying to tell you a deep story here, and goes to show you that Bruce has not really come to terms with his parents' death and absolving himself from that, even though it was not his fault. But also, he hasn't come to terms with who am I? Am I Bruce Wayne or am I Batman? He still hasn't found that balance.
No, I think that's what's something's really cool about the movie, because this is a prime Batman. This is a Batman, like you said, he's established. He's well into the career, and he's still not all there mentally. He's still hurting, and I love that this movie showcases that. And there's more to it. I've seen the Red Book edition of the movie.
I haven't. I wish I would. Yeah.
Oh, I'll send it to you later.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. There's more to that plot line, but just what we get here, I like that there's the balance of it, because yes, we have really comic booky stuff. Batman is in a helicopter that crashes into Lady Gotham, but at the same time, you have these flashbacks and this bigger story that goes around this movie that also, again, we're going to say this word a lot, duality.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, and it adds to it. And it grounds the movie in a way that I think it needed.
Yeah, and like you talk about the funeral, the funeral scene, and then when he's running into the wilderness and he falls into the cave, like those visuals were like straight out of Burton.
Yeah.
Right. So it was that balance of. Here's the best way. And I know some people are going to say that it's sacrilegious to what I'm going to say, but Batman Forever was the closest we got to seeing Batman the Animated Series on screen.
Absolutely. Even though the animated series took cues from Burton, this was much closer, I think. I agree with you.
Like I think Batman Forever is the perfect balance between, if you could find a perfect balance between these two tones, between Batman, the Burton verse, and Batman 66. It literally is the perfect balance between the two.
It's a great in between, and I like that. There's also a visual continuity to it, like you said, because we have the cave stuff when he falls. That's Burton-esque. And even, like you said, the way his fighting stance. And there's a few other things that, even when they show, like, the Jack Napier stuff, you could tell me that's from 89, and I wouldn't question it.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference between that is that we don't see...
the actor.
His face, but there's nothing to contradict that, hey, that was Jack... Like, nobody says... It's not like Bruce goes, well, Joe Chill killed my parents. So there's no discrediting what Burton did there.
No, they're very cohesive. They're just wildly different visually.
It's just we don't want to pay Jack Nicholson rights fees to use his face.
Yeah, we don't want to empty our budget on Nicholson.
That's basically what it was. And just the look of Gotham. Like my problem was never the inclusion of neon lights. That was never my issue with Batman and Robin, contrary to people's belief. But, I liked the look of Gotham City. It was, again, very comic booky. It looks like a city that you'd see in a fictionalized universe. That's kind of what I want.
Yeah, and I like the city too. I do prefer 89 city.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I think that the Schumacher city also looks cool.
Yeah.
I would hope for like a blend of the two at some point, which I think Reeves' Batman kind of is in a way, to me.
Yeah, Reeves' Batman at least looks like something unique, whereas opposed to the Dark Knight trilogy was just, all right, here's Chicago, some Pittsburgh sprinkled in, and the Narrows was the best thing we had going for us.
Exactly, I was going to say. The Narrows is what stands out to me.
Yeah, but the other two were like, it's just Chicago and Pittsburgh, folks.
Right. This has got a unique look to it, and the Batman has a unique look to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I do like that that Bruce is working through his issues, and that's what brings him to Chase Meridian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the recommendation of Commissioner Gordon because he's been working with her, to figure out Two-Face. So he's like, oh, that made sense. And I'm like, okay, so they're not just doing it because he saw her as Batman and then as Bruce Wayne decided to make a friggin' appointment.
No, yeah, he's actually there for a reason.
Yeah, so it's like, I liked all that stuff. And I like the fact that Bruce kind of calls Chase out on her Batman fixation.
That was fun.
I dug that. But then he's like, I mean, there's certain bits of the movie where it's like, yeah, they would have totally rewritten that bit of dialogue today, like the one where he's in her office and he's like, I gotta get you out of those clothes, and she's like, excuse me. I'm like, yeah, there's no way in hell that's being even written on the page today.
No,
because and then he's like into a black dress or whatever. But what I'll say about the Dick Grayson origin and introduction, aside from the fact that he was in the film, let's say an 18-year-old on the verge of going into college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what he was. Yeah,
that's what they present us with. Aside from that, and the fact that Chris O'Donnell was clearly in his 20s.
He's like 4 years old.
Yeah. But aside from that, I think, and the fact that Two-Face is the culprit, I think it was a pretty faithful adaptation of the Dick Grayson origin.
The only thing I will fault Chris O'Donnell for is that stupid laundry scene. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with his portrayal of Dick Grayson.
Yeah, he's a solid Robin. Yeah, that laundry scene. That seems like an old studio, like a studio sort of mandate. Put some cool karate in it for the kids.
Yeah, make sure that the audience knows he can handle himself in a fight by beating the crap out of his laundry.
Yeah, yeah. And even I bet you Michael Gold, they probably just captured his actual reaction, like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what was it?
I think we are all Alfred in that scene.
Yeah, like, what is he doing?
But no, Chris O'Donnell, like you said, he gives a respectable performance as Dick Grayson, and I think he even, it's weird to say because he's 40 or whatever, but he looked the part once everything was in place. Like, you buy that, okay, that's Robin, that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. But so I thought it was a very faithful origin for the character, and I like the scene at the circus where Two-Face is like, one of you in here is Batman, stand up, and I applaud Bruce and for standing up and saying, Harvey, I'm Batman, and he's like, but with all the screaming going on, how is he supposed to hear you?
The better question is, when Bruce starts taking down the Two-Face thugs, did nobody see Bruce Wayne?
Wait a minute! Well,
Bruce Wayne is unleashing these martial arts skills nobody thought he had to take down armed thugs.
Like Chase Meridian, who has been following Batman's exploits, is with the guy at the freaking circus. He gets up to go do this shit.
Next to him when he's yelling, I'm Batman.
But that's what I mean. I can understand that the other 20,000 people at that event, 19,999 people couldn't, or 98, whatever it is, people couldn't hear him. But the one directly beside him.
Or, he was right next to Gossip Gertie. She didn't hear him either.
And
that's her job.
Yeah, her job is literally find out the dirt on these celebrities. He just he's screaming that he's Batman. Didn't hear a thing.
Jumps into the center ring next to Two-Face.
Yeah, and he's kicking ass. It's not like he's just haphazardly making it look like an accident that he's stumbling.
It's the Arkham Batman down there.
like he's doing side kicks and front kicks, and it's like nobody. I get you're all running out in a panic, but not one of you looked back, not even once.
And remember, the thing is televised because the Riddler was watching it.
Yeah,
it's just funny. But it goes hand in hand with the comic booky aspect of it.
Yeah, you just gotta let it go. But I thought it was funny that it's like
It is.
nobody. Okay.
It's hilarious in a way because it's just all of it together.
So I dug that the origin of Robin. I thought that was really well done, and even the parts of like when he goes back to when he's taken back to Wayne Manor, and even then I'm like, even then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, the dude's 18, 19.
He's on a motorcycle.
Why does he need to stay with Bruce Wayne? Like, can he not put a Pop-Tart in the thing and make it himself? Like, what?
And I get he was a circus kid. They were traveling, so I get it. But you're saying this...
Yeah.
We'll call him 18. We'll say it. This 18-year-old cannot take care of himself somehow.
Pizza pocket in the microwave. You need Alfred for that?
Yeah.
Really? But I like the way they got him to stay. Like where he was like,
I like that a lot.
And Bruce is like, well, it looks like your thing is out of gas, and come fill it up, and then they bond over the motorcycles. And he's like, well, if you fix one up, you can have one, right?
But have a good trip, and he puts his hand. I love that bit.
Yeah, and then even before that, when he said, "Where are you going to go? The circus is halfway to Metropolis by now." I instantly became, and I remember in the theater as well. I was that Leonardo DiCaprio gif on the couch before that gif existed, because I guarantee you I was pointing at the screen. I'm like, oh my god, he just said Metropolis. Like that's the shit that you and me used to get excited about. Yeah, because we didn't have no shared universe.
No. That was amazing.
That was the shared universe right there. That mention.
That's still cool to me. That's a perfect shared universe.
Yeah. So I was excited by that. And then, since we're on Robin, we'll talk about it. I like the way he was using his acrobatics to get into that room, which led him to the discovery of the Batcave.
When I was watching it the other night, the thing from the Office, parkour.
Yeah.
I kept saying that, parkour.
Yeah. But also, Alfred's face when he catches him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So you caught him, but he still got away with the Batmobile.
I mean, Alfred can't stop him.
Yeah, hit him over the head with something.
Nah, that's not Alfred.
Plus,
they made it pretty clear Alfred wanted to help this kid.
Yeah.
They didn't hide it.
Alfred was an enabler.
Yeah, Alfred was definitely an enabler. You know what it was? That's why they show us the laundry. That's how Alfred knew this is the kid.
Yeah, he can do his own. I have to take care of the shit. If he starts bleeding, he can deal with his own clothes. Wash his own damn clothes.
He can do this. Let's just get him ready for fights.
Yeah. So I did like that part of it. And then, it makes perfect sense that he took it out for a joyride. Like I take the Batmobile out for the joyride too. And even the scene when Alfred calls Bruce to tell him he took the car. Like the fact that Bruce Wayne had a smartwatch before smartwatches existed. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's how it should be.
And it's better quality than any smartwatch that we have today.
That we currently, exactly. But I'm like, that's how it should be. Like, that's what when I say, it's a perfect balance between Burton and 66. That's what I mean, because even back then, Batman had tech that you couldn't even imagine. Mm-hmm. He had a personal computer.
Multiple.
Yeah, a phone in his car. So he had all this kind of thing, and that carries over here with the smartwatch. But I like the part where and it's one line, but it's so perfectly Batman when Dick Grayson's being cornered by the glow in the dark gang or whatever the hell they call.
Yeah, they're just fun looking.
Yeah. And again, great shot of Batman. For years I didn't realize, I knew that he swooped down, but I didn't see the shot of him standing there
Oh, really?
until, for whatever reason, I just thought he swoops down, but they don't show him standing there.
Yeah, he's there for a second, just watching.
Yeah, and I'm. Last night I noticed that for the first. I'm like, wait a minute, he's standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched this movie countless times. Just now that I noticed that moment of him standing there.
I noticed something new too, but we'll get to it.
So I'm like, oh shit, he was right there. But so he swings down again. Really cool the way he swung down.
Mm-hmm.
Very comic booky. You know, we said that a lot today.
Duality and comic booky. Take a shot.
Yeah, exactly. If you're watching, rewind and take a shot every time we say those two words. But where Dick just starts like punching him, and he's just blocking, and he's like, if Bruce Wayne could have given his because Dick is saying it should have been you, and he's like, if Bruce Wayne could have given his life for your parents, he would have. That one simple line is so quintessential Batman. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's part of the thing, because people can pick apart this movie all they want, and that's fine, it's their opinion. But when it comes to the way the relationship is built between Bruce and Dick, I think that's actually one of the best aspects of the movie.
Yeah.
Because you can't do the fatherly bond deal because, like we said, Dick is 18 looking like he's 40, but they have a camaraderie and kind of...
it's like an older brother kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more like an older brother, and it really comes to a head right there, I think. Yeah. And it's handled perfectly.
And then, the whole time he's like, when he gets back to the cave, he's like, okay, well, you have to help me. He's like, and then Bruce is trying to talk him out of it. He's like, no. He goes, you track him down and kill him. What's that going to do for you? It's not going to it's not going to bring them back. And it's just going to give you the sensation to keep doing it. Once you kill once, you'll do it again. And he's kind of he's referencing himself in this continuity, because even though he didn't do it on purpose, the Joker and the Penguin are both dead.
Yeah, and he even makes the comment, like Dick tells him, your parents were killed by a psychopath. Yes, they were.
Yeah.
There's continuity there, and it works.
So he's trying to, I like that he's trying to dissuade him from doing that.
Yeah, I do too. He's trying to tell him, don't be me, basically.
Yeah. And that's when he looks at, when there's that scene where, this happens after, and we'll talk about that rescue in a minute, but there's a scene where Alfred puts the
Robin suit,
the circus suit, next to the Batman suit. He's like, you're encouraging him. The reference was hilarious.
It was. And Alfred's line is good too, because he says something to the effect of, you were once this kid, or something.
He doesn't need encouragement, he needs guidance.
That's it. Yeah.
Which is, as far as we know, the only... How much guidance, because we don't know about Bruce's training.
No, we don't.
In this version of the story. So how much guidance did he have other than Alfred? And what could have Alfred said to him to be like, no, don't do this, don't dedicate your life to this?
I think that's one of the things that makes this performance so impactful too, because we don't know what that Bruce went through, but we've seen the other two movies and we've seen the way he was.
Yeah.
And this is a different Bruce. Not. I don't mean like continuity. I just mean he's grown.
Yeah.
Because Kilmer's Bruce, I don't think kills anybody. I don't count Two-Face.
Yeah, Two-Face went for the coin. That was his own.
Yeah, that's his own problem. Not counting the Joker. The Joker could have let go.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it.
Yeah. Batman didn't kill either of those people, but the fact that he takes the blame, right?
Right.
Just because that's who he is, right? But in terms of Edward Nygma and becoming the Riddler and all that, I thought that all made sense for the most part. Like, he idolized to the point of obsession Bruce Wayne, and then when he was turned down, he snapped. But the fact that he through illegal means, kind of brought himself to close to Bruce Wayne's levels in terms of wealth and all that kind of stuff. Like, that worked for me.
So that's going to be where maybe we differ a little bit, because for me, an issue I have with the movie is the pacing. A lot of it feels like it doesn't nothing lingers.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't let you breathe.
No, it does.
But it makes, like, the motivations make sense.
The motivations do make sense, but the way it just happens so quickly, it kind of leaves me wondering, well, how much time has even passed? Yeah, and also with the movie being edited the way it is, because a lot of it is out of sequence from what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So it just kind of a weird thing for me. I wish that it would have been slowed down a little bit, or at least give us some sense of time. Because the way it looks in the movie, this is like a week, and it's not a week.
Yeah.
There's no way it could be a week.
Yeah, it definitely has to be long.
He has a full island built.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's obviously, yeah. That comes to length and pacing and all that. But in terms of his motivations, that's where I believed it, right? Like,
yeah, no, I do get that too. I agree with you there.
The fact that he would want to be on the level of Bruce Wayne, right? Is something that I buy. In terms of his device, it's kind of relevant even by today's standards, because we are so obsessed as a population, as a society, with technology and the screen in front of our face.
Yes.
And we willingly give information over. So it's like, yes, the device is like literally stealing brain waves and getting in your head, but as a metaphorical thing, we're kind of doing that nowadays anyway. So it's believable, even though it's overtly exaggerated in a physical sense in this movie. But I thought it's still timely, though, in terms of like the messaging of, like, hey, we're just willingly giving information and things over, right? Like that.
It fits with the tech of the movie too, because we're shown things that we know did not exist at the time. Some of it still doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But in that world, it makes sense.
Yeah. And again, that seems like a villain plot right out of the '66 show. So
it does.
Again, there are things that, like, it was a restrained. It's how do we merge the two live action iterations of Batman together and make it work believably. Batman Forever succeeded. Batman and Robin did not, because they went totally
they were selling toys.
Yeah,
that I didn't even buy.
Yeah, I needed. They weren't good toys. But so. And the whole thing of him coming up with his costume, I'm like, it's right there. Like, what? Just you already like the riddle thing.
Yeah.
Just use the friggin' question mark.
But I love the thing with him with the computer, because that also doesn't really exist still.
Yeah.
But I love where he was going from Captain Kill, the puzzler.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun though. But it was fun. It was just
I like that song that plays too.
The motif was right. Like the motif already fit your strategy with the riddles, right?
It's right there, man.
It's right in front of your face. Like, why waste the time? But I thought visually, he looked great. Like, it was like, it was both. Again, I thought it was the perfect mix of visually honoring the comic book, but also honoring Frank Ocean.
Yeah, what I like, this goes for both villains. I like that they had a variety of outfits that were still the character.
Yeah.
Like Two-Face wears a variety of suits. They're all split down the middle. The Riddler has the leotard and the jacket, but then he has those other outfits too, like the light-up jacket, the white version. It's cool to see that I don't know, that the villains put time into their look, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's still very, like, it's obvious who they are.
Yes, that's the thing. It's obvious. They're
it's
not changing it.
It's like we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
Right? It's like that's.
It's not like putting the Joker in a hoodie and a beanie and saying this is the Joker.
Yeah. So I dug that. We talked a bit about just that scene at the party, but there's so much there that's really cool. Like the scene leading up to when Bruce goes and gets his suit, and he's sliding down the ladder of the escape rope of the window, and it looks like the bat poles. It's meant to evoke the sliding down the bat poles from 60, which I caught right away. I'm like, yeah, I know they're doing the thing.
Yeah, they did the thing.
Yeah, and so again, how that suit is just lugged around in presumably a suitcase.
I think so.
Takes a lot of suspension of disbelief because it's 40 to 60 pounds of molded rubber.
Plus the gadgets.
Yeah, it's like
this Batman has a lot of gadgets.
Where are you putting all that shit?
You got it, I guess, in the trunk. But Bruce changing in the car is what makes me laugh.
Yeah, because he walks out of that car. You telling me nobody's walking on that street?
And how does he even change into it in the car? I don't know. It's just fun to look at or think about it because we don't see it.
Yeah, and then while all the great chaos is going on inside, Dick comes and is like, I need the suit, Alfred. And it's just, I could be fired for this. Maybe they'll take me back at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, I like that line.
That was pretty funny. But again, we talked about the entrance that Batman makes through the skylight. Again, every Batman, like every heroic Batman entrance in this movie was absolutely glorious because it.
I was just saying, a lot of just the Batman shots are glorious in this.
Yeah.
Like, he was always framed so well. One of my favorite shots is a little bit after this when he's standing and the fire is behind him.
Oh,
he's got that look on his face.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
With the flame retardant.
Yeah.
And he's got a button, and it's explainable because, the button's on his belt.
Yeah, it adds it. It does it.
Like, it's nothing is beyond suspending disbelief because it's right on it. You see him push the button.
You don't question it.
Yeah, like when the Batmobile climbs the wall earlier in the movie, another nod to 66. Except in 66 it was them climbing the wall, not the car. But again, when he does it, it's believable to a degree because we see that there's a mechanism on the car that launches.
It's got the engine or whatever.
Yeah. So it's all believable. The question is, how does they get? Getting it down from there is a little bit.
I was wondering about that one on this last rewatch because I don't think I ever thought about it, but this time I guess I was looking at it a little bit more critically.
How do you get down from there? But it's like,
how do you even go up if you think about it? How does he go over the roof?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
unless he pushes the jet at the back,
and then he flies. I don't know. It's fun to think about, though. I would like to think he flies over it and lands on the other side on the road somehow.
Yeah, kind of like in Batman Begins when he.
Like it's the tumbler, something like.
Yeah,
I'd like to think that's how.
Yeah. So, but that kind of stuff, but yeah, that whole sequence where, he falls into Two-Face's trap.
Literally falls into it.
Yeah, and then again, Two-Face is fixated on that acid that scarred him. Talk about somebody that needs Chase Meridian's help. He's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But Robin saves him, and again, I like the way they highlight the acrobat prowess of Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did a good job of keeping consistent with that.
I think so too. They didn't hide it.
So that Batman eventually acquiescing and allowing this young individual to join him is believable. Where had they just let the acrobat stuff go and never referenced it again, it would have been like, really, like, you know, how's this, you know, believable? So I like that they kept referencing it, and aside from the washing the clothes, every other spot where they used it, I thought was appropriate. Then there's the moment where he wants to tell Chase, and so he decides to shut it down. He's like, I know how to get Dick to stop. I'll just shut everything down.
Makes sense.
Like, just screw it. You're not going to be Robin because I'm not going to be Batman anymore. You know, Riddler and Two-Face finding out Bruce Wayne's identity because he went to investigate the box and thought that the machine was powered down, but then, you know, Drew Barrymore puts the device back in. Yeah, exactly, to get it to work. That makes sense. I believe that. That's fine. And the fact that they attacked Wayne Manor, I thought that was cool. Because it was something we'd never seen before again.
No, and the way it was handled was neat too, because they used Halloween pretty smart. That was a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Although it does make, again, how far is Wayne Manor from the city?
Yeah, like, where are these
trick-or-treaters?
Yeah, where are these kids?
Where is Wayne Manor? I want to know. Does he have neighbors? But I thought that was a smart way to use the holiday to their advantage. Yeah. It also means that the finale takes place on Halloween, which is pretty cool to me.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for Halloween-themed Batman stories.
I'm a sucker for Halloween, period.
Yeah, so it works. But the attack on Wayne Manor was cool because, like, we've never seen that before in live action. And then where it got a little bit. Where I think they could have toned it down was the sound effects with the Riddler. Like, that's where they, you know, the baseball music
and that noise.
Noise when he adjusts his crotch. I'm like, really?
Yeah, we didn't need that.
Like, it felt like an acting, you know, one of those Looney Tunes cartoons.
I think that's what they wanted. That had to be it. But it's like,
it's an intentional choice, but I don't think it worked.
No, I don't think it did either. It takes you out of what's going on.
And man, I was bummed when the Batmobile blew up.
Right?
I'm like, how can you blow up that car? Come on.
And they showed it multiple times from different angles. Like, I don't want to. No, don't do this.
No, I mean, the suits, even the suits. I'm like, those suits were so good. Like, I love the Panther.
I kind of wish we would have saw more of that. Actually, more of the suits, because it seemed like Kilmer's Batman had a few.
Yeah, he had a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see what they look like.
And they were no longer on coat hangers, which I thought was good.
Yeah, I like that they were in those chambers.
Yeah, which makes more sense.
Yes.
But you know what? The fact that the Batmobile and the cave were destroyed, or the suits were destroyed, at least gives you a plausible reason for him to change the suit.
It does.
Like, it's like, oh, he needs a new one because the old ones were destroyed. And
conveniently, he has this one left.
And guess what? In the next one, you're going to see a brand new looking Batmobile because why? Well, the last one was destroyed. Makes sense.
And I think the Batman Robin car is a 2-seater. If I remember correctly, it had 2 seats.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes it more sense.
There's no roof covering.
Which I like that. I think it looked cool.
Yeah, that's a nod to 60 again.
Yeah, that car looked. It even had the red accents.
Yeah,
like the 66 car.
Well, that one wasn't even hiding it, but it's fine because
yeah. But this car, this is actually my favorite Batmobile.
I really like it. I think it's probably my second favorite behind the 89. What I like about it is it's unmistakably a Batmobile.
Yes.
And that's what I want.
I think that also, to me, it sort of reminds me of the animated series Batmobile. because it's got the length and stuff. It kind of reminds me of that, but I really just love the look. I love the big, huge fin on the back, the two smaller fins over the wheels, and all the lighting in the middle, like the chassis area. It is a really cool car. And I love the toy I had of it. The toy used to light up too.
Like it's, you know what it is? It's an evolution. Like it's an evolution of the first car. Mm-hmm. And you could buy that he would make tweaks to it.
Yeah.
Right. And
And wasn't the Batmobile destroyed in Returns? I don't remember.
Yes, when he broke it apart.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he went through the alley. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it makes sense why you're right. Yeah. As opposed to the suits in Batman and Robin, where it's like, why? Why did we change these suits? Like, why did we put ice? Okay, hold on. I get why, because the villain was Mr. Freeze, but why did it have, ice lined trim on it for? Like, what? There's no. It's not keeping you warmer.
He's just so well prepared at that point. He knows each villain requires a specific design suit.
Like the day after Mr. Freeze showed himself for the first, he's like, "All right, Alfred, cook me up some suits with friggin' ice decal on it." And
right, it's got to be aesthetically pleasing so we match each other.
But so yeah, I like that here. It makes sense. And while I prefer the suit that he spends 2/3 of the movie in,
I love that suit, the Panther suit. Yeah.
Yeah. I did enjoy the sonar suit.
That's a cool suit.
I'll take the sonar suit in Batman Forever over the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises suit any day of the week.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I could follow you there.
No, just because I prefer the Begins one.
I do too.
And the reason why I didn't care for the Dark Knight suits was because there was too much segmentation.
Too much going on.
And the fact that the symbol is kind of getting lost in all that other mess.
I agree with that.
It's like, why? So
I like the huge bat on the chest.
Yeah. Well, the huge but thin bat, as opposed to the huge obese. Like there's two different huge.
The fat bat, you mean?
There's the huge thin one on Kilmer and I guess Bale in the first one, and then there's the fat bat on Affleck. That's
like the Miller bat. I don't really love the Miller bat.
Thanksgiving. It's like too much Thanksgiving food for that bat. But no, I did enjoy the sonar suit. It was, but if I had my my choice, he would have just stayed in the Panther suit.
I would have done the same. Maybe just take off the nipples.
And I still don't. You know what's funny though? They didn't bother me in this film. I don't know why.
They don't bother me either. I'm okay with them.
And then seeing with the Panther suit with the yellow oval, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, why at the beginning of Batman and Robin does it have an oval but it's gray? Like, what is the purpose of the oval if everything is just one color?
Well, I kind of like it both ways. I like it either way. I think with it being one color, though, it fit with the suit being more blue.
Yeah.
Because there's a blue hue to the Clooney suit.
Yeah, there is. I get that. Yeah, there is.
There's like a shine to it.
There is. Yeah, there is. One thing we haven't really talked about, though, is how I really enjoyed the riddles. And Bruce and Alfred deciphering the riddles. Again, we're seeing how smart Bruce is.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about using the Riddler as a villain. You get to do that. You get to show how smart Bruce actually is. Alfred even has a joke about that. You're smarter than people think.
You're quite smart. Smarter than people think, yeah. Right.
I love that line. But I also enjoy seeing the different parts of Bruce's personality because he's not just like a top-tier martial artist, which we get a lot of in this movie. Yeah. I love how action-heavy he is. Yeah. Very hands-on. But we can see how smart he is. Like you said.
I think the fighting was improved as well.
It was a lot.
From 89 and Returns.
It was a lot, very much improved because this, you actually buy that he's beating the crap out of these people.
Yeah. And I think it helps that even though the suit was still very restrictive, it was thinner. So therefore, the stuntmen, when they were doing the fighting, could move
I think it looked like he could turn his head a little bit.
Yeah, still restricted, but yeah.
He could at least move his face.
A little bit more. Yeah. And I like the scene where Robin shows up. You know, they have that exchange.
That's a good scene. I like his suit.
Of who's your tailor, and Alfred's like, I took the liberty, sir. And it's like, so in addition to doing everything else, on his downtime, he's down in the cave making suits.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Alfred had a 3D printer before 3D printers were a thing, because you can't sew that shit together.
And he made it in record time too, because Dick ran away for 3 hours and he came back.
Imagine all the cosplayers that would love this version of Batman's tech to make these suits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cosplayers would love it, I think.
I would love it.
Yeah,
I walk around in a Batsuit.
I'd make my own suits, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I like that where he's like, where Dick was like, not just a friend, a partner, and they have the shake, and then I like that we get both the Batwing and the Batbolt.
I love the Batwing. The Batwing is one of my favorite Bat vehicles, period. So it's always cool when I get to see it.
And I was watching another podcast that they were like, I guess they were ranking the Batwings, and they liked the Forever one, but they're like, well, they barely used it. We barely saw it in use, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's not overly used, but it's used.
Yeah, it is pretty quick though. Well, I guess when you compare it to 89, because in 89 he uses it quite a bit there at the end. We get to see him do stuff with it. Yeah. Whereas in this, it really is just a vehicle.
Right, but it's still, still showcased.
Yeah, it's showcased, and it looks good. I like that it matched the Batmobile with the lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool thing. Like, now Batman matches.
Yeah, and those two vehicles, the Batbolt or what, I don't know what the technical term of that was, and then the Batwing, that felt really animated series vibes.
Yeah.
When Batman and Robin were traveling on those, I thought
by land, by sea.
Yeah.
Or no, by air, by sea.
Yeah, and then when he goes through the bat signal is illuminated by a question mark, and then Batman, flies through it with the Batwing. That was pretty cool.
I like seeing Gordon go nuts. Like, you didn't do anything this entire movie.
He's like, finally, somebody's gonna do my job.
The savior of Gotham is here, because I can't do anything. I am useless.
So what was cool? Another thing I noticed for the first time, when they first leave the cave with the two vehicles, there's a shot where it's further away, but I noticed it, where the Batwing goes towards the moon, and it's kind of mimicking the shot from 89, but it's different.
Yeah, a little bit, because it's not as
pronounced.
Not as pronounced. It doesn't stop in the moon.
Yeah. They're not like, look at that. They're not like, look what we just did.
Right. It's just it's something he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's really good with maneuvering the Batwing in this, because just getting out of the cave looks like an extreme.
That could cause an accident for sure.
Yeah, that's some terrifying stuff. Don't do that when you're drunk, folks.
Yeah, definitely not. But that was cool. Well, it was the thing that you noticed around here or later on?
Actually, it was earlier on when he was in the Batmobile. I never realized he can't see behind him in the car. Like, there's no back window. I never realized that.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And he has to use the camera, which at the time was unheard of.
Okay.
It's just a fun little thing I noticed. I just never thought about it. And then I was thinking, well, the 89 car, he couldn't look behind him either.
Yeah.
I guess he couldn't in Batman and Robin because he just put his head out, I suppose. Yeah, and the tumbler, I don't think he could. So it's just the interesting thing with Batman vehicles.
Yeah, you just better hope that nothing's attacking you from behind, or
because
you're shit in trouble. You're shit out of luck otherwise.
You're in trouble, buddy.
But so they get it at the lair, the Riddler's hideout, and
Enigma Island or whatever.
Yeah, Enigma, exactly. And of course, we get another. I thought the whole visual of Riddler and Two-Face literally playing Battleship was a bit too much. It was fun, but it was a bit,
It's a weird one.
Yeah.
Because it like, why did we need that?
Because it kind of pulls you out of the movie a little bit.
It does. It's fun, but I could have done without it.
Yeah. But so then, again, both vehicles are destroyed. Batman and Robin end up, ashore and, on dry land.
Holy rusted metal.
And that's where we get the Holy Rusted Metal line. And Batman's like, what? And then Robin explains it. That was a cool nod.
Mm-hmm.
That was, yeah, you can do it, and I can laugh, and then not be taken out of the movie.
And Chris O'Donnell's tone even changes when he says, Holy Rusted Metal, Batman. Like, his tone changes to match Burt Ward a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a fun nod.
I thought it worked. Then they both go their separate ways, right?
I like that, too. The man's got to go his own way.
Yeah, which echoes that. Robin gets some good hits on Two-Face, but then makes the fatal flaw of, I actually listened to the advice Bruce gave me and tried to save him instead of save Two-Face instead of killing him. And that's how Robin gets captured. And then they have the whole thing where Two-Face has both of them in pods.
Yeah.
Hanging, both Chase and...
Very comic-y.
Yeah, which was fine. No problem there. And he's like, you're going to have to choose which one to save because you can't save both. But the way they did it was like, there was a scene where Jim Carrey, being Jim Carrey, is like, will Batman save the way they did that whole...
That was a good nod, yeah.
Again, 66 nod there. But I like how Batman distracted the Riddler by using a Riddler against him.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how he damaged his machine. And the way he put the again on his belt. His belt has everything.
It does.
It's got the lenses.
This was a cool way to do the lenses too.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if I'd want them visible for a whole movie.
No, I don't think I would.
But as a tool on the suit for a specific reason, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point where we've seen that lenses can work on a suit. Like Deadpool's got them. Spider-Man, of course, uses them, and they're animated now. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do it, but I think Batman does work better when we can see the eyes. And I mean, it's worked with Pattinson really well. Affleck, every version we've seen, Bale, of course, the eyes work. So, but I do like seeing the lenses like as a tool, like you said.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
So when he destroys the machine, sparks are flying. Riddler's just in shock and stupefied, and he hits the button twice that releases the two chambers, and then you have Batman have to make this diving rescue of the two of them, which I thought was so heroic and bombastic, and again, it felt like a giant splash page.
And yeah, the visual of it, the whole sequence, the way it's shot, I love that scene. It's one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
Yeah.
Just purely from a visual standpoint, it's just awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. And again, how he was able to, in fact, save both of them.
With his tool belt.
Okay, Robin helped a bit with Chase. But well, at the end, when you're lifting her up.
Oh, yeah.
But then, the scene with Two-Face that we mentioned earlier, where Batman distracts him with the coins.
Which is also a fun callback to when Chase used the signal as a beeper. The coin is his Achilles heel.
Yeah.
But you never did that before, did you?
And it was funny because, you're right, because that's the excuse I brought you here to tell you that the coin can
be exploited.
And I'm like, wait a minute. A, I knew that. B, that still doesn't explain why you're barely dressed.
Right.
Like, you couldn't deliver this information fully clothed.
You couldn't send me a text through my bat beeper, the real one I have,
or call the commissioner and then tell the commissioner to tell me.
right?
No, you had to come in your negligee. But all right.
But he did remember it.
Yeah, sure.
She made an impression.
Wow, yeah. You can tell Batman is very mentally strong because when she's talking to me in that outfit, I don't know if I'm remembering much of anything. So Batman's got one up on me for that for sure. No, but I like that move where he confused him with the other coins, and again, like you said, that's Two-Face's fault for his over reliance on the coin. That's what killed him ultimately. And then when Batman at the end goes to arrest Riddler, and he's like, I am Batman, both Batman and Bruce Wayne, not because I have to be, but because I choose to be. And then Riddler is seeing the image of the giant bat that was coming towards Bruce in the cave all those years ago. That was really cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I would have liked to see the original intent of the use of that bat.
It's it's like a giant man. It's basically man bat.
Yeah, but again, visually, I thought that was very striking, really cool. And then we get our first look at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Which looks straight out of the animated series. Like
just a creepy mansion on the hill, kind of, or a castle on the hill.
Yeah, and did you know that they used that same shot of Arkham, that exterior, in the Birds of Prey TV show?
Oh, really? That's cool.
Back in
Was it 2000?
2003, I think. Yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
it was the year after Smallville. And also a little interesting tidbit of trivia. Wayne Manor in this, of course, also serves the exterior. Also serves as the exterior to Wayne Manor in Batman and Robin, naturally, but also in Gotham.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the same exterior building.
That's
used.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it did look pretty good, actually.
Yeah. So that's cool bits of trivia. So we see Arkham and Riddler saying that he knows who Batman is, and then he comes out in his jail jumpsuit and flapping away, saying that he's Batman.
I like that.
But it makes sense that he'd go insane, given all that he was supposedly absorbing from people. Yeah.
And I'd like to think he regains his composure later on, because his head is bandaged too. He got kind of messed up from whatever happened. So I'd like to think in that universe he regains composure and returns as the Riddler, which is cool. The cool part of leaving villains alive in movies.
Yeah, it's because potentially they could return, and presumably he may have returned in Batman Triumphant if they ever had gotten around to making that movie.
Yeah.
Because there was a sequence where all the villains he had fought up to this point, including the Joker, returned. So
yes, via fear gas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been cool. Had Batman and Robin been even a third better than what it actually was. So him and Chase tells him that don't worry, he's got nuts to the point that your secret's safe. They share a kiss, and she's like, don't worry too late. It's stereotypical scene, Batman with his love interest at the end of the movie, where Alfred takes her home and he's off to
do Batman stuff.
To do Batman, exactly. And this time, instead of being perched on a gargoyle looking at the bat signal, Batman and Robin are running towards the screen with the light of the bat signal in the background. And that's how the film ends. I thought it was a cool ending. I liked it.
I like when, and I think a lot of comic book movies should embrace this. The X-Men movies had it where they would always open with the X-Vault,
Yeah.
I think specific stuff like that adds personality to the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this particularly with them running to the camera, I thought is just a really neat visual, and I like that.
And also them running towards the screen is another nod. I took it as a nod to the opening of the 66 show.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's not as there's no poppy theme playing in front of it, but the intent is, hey, look what we did, right?
And the score in this movie really pops in that scene too. I love the score of the movie as well.
Yeah, I do too. And
I think the song that plays there at the end is nice.
Yeah, and there were touches where when they wanted to evoke 66, you could hear it.
Mm-hmm. So the score is light enough to where it has that balance. Sometimes it's really dark and moody. Sometimes it's not.
Again, it was I said this before on the show several times. This is the ideal blend of Burton and 66.
Duality.
Yeah.
Take a shot.
Yeah. So I think it all worked. It all worked. Is there anything? The other nod that I think worth mentioning, the doctor in Arkham is named Dr. Burton.
I actually thought that was Tim Burton when I was
a
kid.
And it kind of looks like Tim Burton too.
I thought it was for the longest time. Then I realized that's not Tim Burton.
So, anything else you want to?
Well, I had a question. Did you buy the romance aspect between Bruce and Chase?
I thought it was a little quick, but I could believe that because they're sharing such, he's sharing such intimate, dark, deep details that they would fall in love. So the idea of it, the possibility of it, yes. The execution of it was too quick, but that's largely, I think, down to the editing of the film more than how it was edited together, what was cut. Like, I don't know if there was any more of the relationship there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think hurts any of the relationships in the Burton Schumacher quadrilogy is the fact that they're all one and done.
One and done, yeah. I think it would have been nice to have at least one of these actresses carry over, but I know in like '89 you couldn't bring Kim Basinger back because you're doing Catwoman. You can't bring Michelle Pfeiffer back because you just can't. But I think like Chase should have been in both.
They could have brought. I mean, the way they left Returns, there's no reason why they couldn't have featured.
Well, no, but I mean, you're going to put Pfeiffer with Kilmer afterward. I don't know if that would have worked the same way, especially with this being a different Gotham than what she was in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, aesthetically, she would have been completely different looking, I would imagine.
Sure.
And then you can't have her, licking the costume and doing all that because that's what got them in trouble.
Yeah.
So that Catwoman had to stay there.
So Kidman should have been the one to carry over.
I think so. Yeah, because nobody even remembers Elle Macpherson as Julie Madison.
Oh, she was just there literally to...
I don't even have to even say her name more than once.
No, just once, I think.
Yeah, if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, though. I buy the romance, but it is really quick. It comes down to the execution, the editing. But
I do like that she chose... That she even had some growth in the sense that this is just a fixation.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce is the person that I'm...
And we get that smile from him, which is fun.
Yeah.
It's rare to see Batman smile.
Yeah, I thought it was... I would have smiled. Again, everybody... I remember vividly when that scene came on in the theater, everybody got a chuckle because that's what they were going for. Like, so it elicited the emotion that it was going for.
Yep, I think that's what a lot of this film does. It hits the notes that they intended.
Yeah, and it was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
It made more money than Returns.
Yeah, the merchandising was really good on this one. Like we talked about earlier, the mugs, the toys.
The merchant, but I'm talking box office wise. He made more than Returns, so it made sense that Warner Brothers wanted to bring back this crew for another one. They took the wrong lesson from its success, which is, hey, look how much shit we sold.
I think that was more Schumacher, though. I think Schumacher just thought, okay, so the taste of it worked. Let's go full on and do the buffet.
Okay, so you think you put the blame is the wrong word. But.
Yeah, I wouldn't say blame, but I think it was both parties, and neither of them said, hey, maybe we're doing too much. Because they just thought, okay, this direction worked, let's keep going.
Because I think Schumacher, I from my perspective, I understand why he would want to go bigger.
Yeah, I get it.
But I wonder if the Warner Brothers mandate of sell more toys, sell even more toys, ultimately hindered the could they have made a version of the movie that we got that was more akin to the tone of Forever than?
I think so.
Totally.
I think so because you look at it like the Alfred subplot is the equivalent of the Red Book subplot.
Yeah.
It does the same thing. It tries to ground the film, but this one or that one is just too wacky. There's no grounding.
And even the stuff with Freeze with his wife, that could have been.
Yeah, there were ways to do it, but like you said, you can't blame Schumacher for wanting to go bigger and maybe in his mind what would have been better. And then the studio's just like, yeah, go ahead. You sold toys, you sold McDonald's mugs. That's all we need.
Because I know that he wanted to go. He actually wanted to take it a step back and make a year one type of movie.
Yeah, after the fact, yeah.
Is what he was lobbying for, but they said, no, you sell more toys. Like, that damn word toyetic. Them telling him to make it more toyetic is like.
Well, it bit them. They got their toys, but it bit them in the butt.
Yeah, but they couldn't get rid of their toys. So that was the problem. Here,
you could probably still buy those toys on clearance.
I could probably go on Amazon and get them for 5 cents.
Yeah, I've seen them in comic book stores. Nobody wants them. Nobody buys them.
Oh, I wouldn't buy them either. Now, McFarlane is releasing Batman and Robin figures.
He is.
Will I buy them? I'm probably going to buy the Batman as much as
I mean, I ordered the McFarlane 6-pack, so I'm getting the Clooney. I wanted the Clooney.
See, I just wanted the Robin. I wanted the. Do you think they'll release it separately, the Forever one?
I think they will because they re-released the Bane, and he was the Build-A-Figure, and you could buy the Bane separately now.
Maybe for the 30th anniversary of Forever, they'll McFarlane.
Oh, for Forever. I hope they do because I want that Robin, and I want the Two-Face.
See, because here's the thing. I want to buy the hot toy. I do too. Here's my problem. All things being equal, if I was going to get a hot toy from Forever, it'd be the Panther suit. So I'm like,
that too.
If I pull the trigger, because I know it's going to happen to me. If I pull the trigger on the Panther suit, on the
Sonar suit,
you know what's going to happen to the 30th anniversary? Hot Toys is going to release the Panther suit.
Oh yeah, with the inclusion of the Schumacher cut, here's some new toys.
And then I'm going to be like, for God's sake, here we go. So I'm teetering. I'm on the verge, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I want to though.
It's funny that we're still wanting Forever merch though, because like I said, I would like the Panther suit too. That's one of the reasons I got the 6-pack because you also get.
I mean, Iron Studios is making a toy of it, but it's $1,000.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want to sell a limb to own a Batman Forever statue.
I'm good with action figure. It comes in a pack.
There's limits to my madness, folks, and that's once we're out of the 100, I'll splurge for a hot toy, but when we start getting into thousands, when the 1,000 number is starting to be bounded about, it's like. Yeah, no,
that's a new atmosphere.
Yeah,
when it comes to collecting.
That's where I would need to have Bruce Wayne's money to justify that, because then that would be like sense. I'd be like, oh, hey, here's So yeah, but you're right. The appetite for Forever merchandise is still, I think, strong.
It is. People really. It's. I think Forever has become more liked as time has gone on.
I think it's just got lumped in the past with Batman, as if they're one and the same, and they're not.
They're very different. Very different. I will say that too. Maybe the look of them is similar.
Certain beats are similar.
Yes.
Like we talked about, the Alfred dying plot is similar to the Red Book. That's the intent.
But I think that's the only that and maybe some of Freeze's wife. That's the only thing that's similar. Everything else is completely over the top.
Yeah, it was just that the tone was ratcheted up. Like instead of 1 level, it was 12.
Right.
And that's wherein lies the issue.
You have Mr. Freeze singing like Christmas carols in a blue robe while he's smoking a cigar.
Yeah, it's like that's where you go full bore the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But Forever was like, it's honestly rewatching it again for the purposes of this. It's probably moved up my list of Batman films. I have to before I put that list together again because I've done it so many times, but it seems to change because I think 3 things in life are assured, Chris: death, taxes, and every 5 years we're going to get at least 1 Batman movie.
I hope so.
So with that comes the potential of my list changing.
Mm-hmm.
But rewatching this, there's so much to love about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that doesn't work is so minimal for me that it's like I don't, it's like I'd probably put this higher than Returns for me, on this rewatch.
I do, but I'm not really a Returns fan.
As much as Batman Returns is a Christmas tradition for me, and Michelle Pfeiffer is fantastic, I think as a pure Batman film, I think Forever is the better movie.
Mm-hmm. You think of like Begins and The Dark Knight. I think Begins is the better Batman movie.
Yeah.
But Dark Knight is the better movie overall.
And I'm going to say something again. I'm not going to do my full list, but I'll say something controversial. I'll put Forever probably over Rises.
I'd do that too.
I
would do that too.
In my opinion. So it really has risen the ranks on this this rewatch. But with that being said, let's rate it. Is there anything else you want to add before we rate it?
No, I think I'm good.
Awesome. All right, so letter grade. What would you give Batman Forever?
It's part nostalgia, part I just love it. I'm going with an A on this one.
I'm going to give it an A as well. There are a couple of quote unquote superhero movies from the 90s that to me are like the quintessential, favorites of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's Batman Forever, The Mask of Zorro, The Phantom, which I love. I don't care what people say, and The Rocketeer.
That's a good one too.
I think those are 4 quintessential.
No Shadow?
Favorites of mine. The Shadow's up there too. Yeah, I do like The Shadow. Yeah. So it's an A for me as well. It's just I'm glad that this movie exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that Val Kilmer did not return to play Batman again, though I don't even think he could have saved the follow-up as it was. But good thing is, I can always watch this, and I think this is I think this is a good piece of not only Batman film history, but also in Joel Schumacher's filmography. I think it's one that I think he'd be proud of.
Yeah, I think so too.
Although, we're always talking about alternate cuts and release this and release that. I'd want to see the Schumacher cut. So I hope for the 30th anniversary that Warner Brothers does do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool.
I'd like to see it because, like I said, I've seen the Red Book, which is pretty close to what he wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious what his actual version was, and it's already cut and everything. It's sitting in a vault.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Smith just screened it recently.
Yeah. And Akiva Goldsman is here.
Mm-hmm.
He's still with us, so he could facilitate that. To make sure that it was as close to what Joel would have wanted out of it. But I mean, look, and this is no slander to what I'm about to compare it to. But if you're going to spend $70 million on Zack Snyder's Justice League, why not spend a fraction of that to put out Batman Forever?
Yeah, and it's just sitting there anyway. Just let's see it.
And then I'll make another statue of the Panther suit, and I can buy it. So Warner Brothers, you win on all fronts. I know.
Everybody wins at that.
There's no losing.
Mm-mm. There's no losing.
So that's it. That's our take on Batman Forever. I am going to do Batman and Robin. I don't know who will be the guest host. We'll see who I can wrangle on that one to join me in the misery. I will have some good stuff to say about that. I have softened on the movie since 1997. It's not going to be as glowing as this review, but I'll find some positive things to snatch out of my mouth for that review. But in the meantime, if you want to talk to Chris or I about Batman, past, present, or future, you can on social media. Chris, where do they find you?
You guys can find my Twitter at thatchris70. You can also, I have a bunch of stuff on there. I host I'm a co-host of 2 other podcasts, so you'll find that on there.
Awesome. Yeah, and I did listen, or actually it's in my queue. I saw the notification for the your DC podcast.
Oh, that was a fun one.
Yesterday, so I got to check that one out probably tonight. I'm gonna give that a listen, and I'll be checking that one out. So, but if our viewers and listeners want to find me, it's at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. We have the Facebook group, which is listed in the description below. Click the link, and I will add you. We can continue the conversation there. But until next time, remember that Batman Forever is, well, forever, from Batman's first heroic entrance in the film to the last. So long, everybody.